Welcome to Blueprint Radio. I'm your host, Martin Williams. Here we help you create a blueprint for your life. So let's build. And thank you for tuning in to the Blueprint Radio podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast with an S, or wherever you are listening to this podcast right now. So today I wanted to talk to you about creating new boundaries in your life. As I've been saying on this podcast for a while, I'm creating a course, which is called the Blueprint Course. And the Blueprint Course is basically a summation of all the things that I've learned to get to this point in my life. And I've certainly not reached every single goal that I have, but I've been able to accomplish a few things. And I wanted to collate all of those things into a course to help people who maybe feel like they're, spinning their wheels, or perhaps nowhere near where they want to be, feeling frustrated, feeling that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I wanted to create a course for those folks. So that course has been in the works for quite some time, and it looks like we will finally get it live within the next month or so. So I'm very excited for people to see it, hear it, and most of all, take it. So I did that lead in because part of the course is strategy and planning, right? And I truly believe that if you're going to achieve your dreams, whatever they are, whether they're, dreams of more income, or losing weight, or finding the relationship that you've always been looking for, I really believe that strategy and planning goes into it. And a lot of times people overlook that piece, or they don't think about it altogether. And that's a huge mistake. And the reason that's a huge mistake is that you have to give your life boundaries, right? Now, a lot of, psychologists and therapists have really come to the forefront to talk about boundaries in relationships. And that's very, very important. It's very important to create boundaries for the people that are in your life, whether they're parents, spouses, or, children, or, coworkers, bosses, whoever. You have to have boundaries in your life because people have a tendency to do what they want to do regardless of how it affects you. So if you don't have boundaries, then you basically succumb to whatever that person wants to do in your life. For example, people might want to call you at 2 a.m. And even though it should be understood that unless it's an emergency, you don't call anybody at 2 a.m, right? I'm not going to call anyone at 2 a.m. unless there's something really, really wrong, God forbid, right? But some people don't have boundaries, so they feel like they can call you at any time of night, or, they feel like they can say anything, they feel like they can do anything, and so you have to create boundaries and basically tell them, no, you can't do that. And that's basically what the whole concept is about. But that's not what I'm going to talk about here. What I'm talking about here is creating boundaries in your life as it pertains to how you run your life. What I just explained is very important. But if you don't have boundaries with your finances, if you don't have boundaries with the things that you have to do on a daily basis, if you don't create boundaries for yourself, as far as, overeating, over-consuming, alcohol, things like that, over-consuming television, things like that. If you don't create boundaries for yourself, then your life can spin out of control. For me, it was finances, right? Because I didn't want to create a budget for a long time. I resisted it for a really, really, really long time. Really long time. Far too long, right? Because I didn't see the need. I said, I don't have any money, so why would I need to budget? And of course, that's a lot of this youth and stupidity, right? But I'll be a little kinder to myself, but budgeting is a boundary, right? What you're doing is that you're setting a boundary for your money. You're saying, this is how much I'm going to spend, and I'm not going to overspend. I'm not going to spend more than that. Right now, I'm spending too much in that area, so I'm going to bring that down some. And then I'm going to, enlarge my boundary when it comes to income, right? I need to make more money to support the things that I've taken on, right? So you're creating a new boundary with your money. And what happens is that, whenever you create a boundary in your life, what happens is that you're basically telling the subconscious mind, okay, hey, this is what the new boundary is, right? Because there was a time when I only made $5 an hour, right? I made $5 an hour in working in fast food, right? So there was a time when I did that. And that was okay when I was working at home and didn't have a whole lot of bills. But the first time that I moved out of my house and was truly on my own, I couldn't live on $5 an hour anymore. I had to raise my level. And so what I did was, obviously I had to start looking for work that paid what I needed in order to handle my bills for the month, right? That's changing your boundary. That's creating a new boundary, right? The $5 an hour, $10 an hour, that's not going to work now, right? There's a time when it worked, but now there's a time when it doesn't. And that's how you have to look at life. You have to look at life where there was a time when I could just get up in the morning and do whatever I wanted to do, but that's not my life anymore, right? There may be a time when I get back to that, when, businesses have taken off and, I create more time for myself and more time with my family. But right now, that's not where I'm at. So, I have to recreate the boundary of my life. Another great place this works is in projects. So how long do you want it to take to paint your house? Do you want it to take 5 years? I would hope not. Okay. I would hope that you'd want to paint your house in a lot quicker time. But how does that happen? It happens by making a decision and then creating a plan, creating a timeline where for 7 days, we're going to paint this house, 2 weeks maximum, right? But, you basically put it on paper from now until the 15th, painting the house, right? And then by the 15th, we'll be done. But when you create that timeline, when you create that boundary, you're telling your mind, I don't want this taking longer than 2 weeks. By 2 weeks, we're done. House is painted, right? Corporate America understands this. Corporate America understands that you got to have timelines for everything, right? That's how important it is. If you don't, things can just go on and on and on and on and on. Same, and going back to budgeting, if you don't have a budget for your money, you can just overspend, and none of it is on the things that matter. How many people are passing away with no life insurance? How many people are, going through life and, they don't have health insurance or don't have any type of savings? Why is that? It's because they didn't create a boundary in their life. I'm not going to spend $600-$700 a month on eating out or $1,000 a month on going out and not have money for the necessities of life. And it's not all the necessities of life aren't immediate, right? There's certain things that are immediate. You need gas in your car. You need money for food and things of that nature. But there's other things that aren't so immediate. Like I said, insurance, savings for the future, retirement savings. How many people don't have retirement savings right now? And there's a lot of good reasons why they don't. We're going through a pandemic. A lot of people lost their job. They had to tap into their 401k. And that's more than understandable. I've had to do that at some point. But at what point do we say, okay, there's an account where I'm going to put money and I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to save money and I'm not going to touch it. And I'm just going to let that build, but I'm not touching it. That's a boundary, right? You have to create boundaries in your life. If you don't, life can get out of control. So that's why I put that in the blueprint, because I think a lot of people get to adulthood and no one really has this talk with them that you've got to create boundaries for yourself, the way you conduct yourself, the way you consume and things of that nature, but also boundaries around your time, boundaries around your money, boundaries around your relationships. And if you do that, life will be a lot better versus not having those things. So thank you so much for listening to the Blueprint Radio podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to Blueprint Radio. For more information on Martin Williams coaching and products, please go to guidedexpressions.com or visit me on Facebook as well as Instagram.